So, a few months ago, I was just volunteering at an event with a nonprofit that I work for, and I was just chatting with folks as they came up to our table, having conversations, and this girl came up. So we're chatting, and eventually she asked me how old I was. So I was like, I'm 19, my second year at college. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, I thought this organization was for young people. And come to find out, she was in fact 13, but I think about that interaction every single day. And when I was 13, I was pretty much convinced that I would marry a member of One Direction still, so I kind of see where she was coming from. And honestly, stuff like that matters when you're considering getting involved in a civic organization or just getting involved in civil society. You want to make sure that you'll be able to fit in. You want to see yourself in the people who are working there, and you want to know that you'll have a chance to belong. When we look at the organizations that are around today here in Idaho, we have great examples, like one that I get to help lead as president called Big Vote. It's a nonprofit organization that encourages students like me to get involved civically and register voters, and most importantly, build the skills so that they can go out and meet the needs of their own communities. I have had the honor of being able to be a part of organizations that have longevity, that have lasted. And even more importantly, I've been able to learn from people who do it a lot better than I do, and who I swear have it down to a science. So today, we'll be going over two main steps that I think have helped lead to the longevity of social movements. Because social movements that last are our best shot at creating a future that helps everyone. So we'll get into it. The first step that I think is important to building a movement that lasts is picking the right battles. You might have heard of things like bread and butter issues, and this usually just refers to issues that people care about regardless of things like political party affiliation. And the reason why this is important is because we can see that when people care about something, when there's a big group of people being harmed, or when there's a goal that we can obviously reach, that this is the kind of thing that people will rally around and you can build something from it. Issues that impact more than just you and are bigger than just you can usually be met with a big movement. But it's important to note that not every issue needs to be handled with a big organization and a big mode of change, and that's okay too. But ultimately, a lot of these things are going to come down to what matters to you and issues that you want to see change in the world. However, there are already a lot of really awesome organizations and movements in Idaho right now that are already making really important strides. So whether you want to get involved in a movement that already exists or start your own, it's so powerful for a group of citizens to be the ones addressing the change outside of the systems that, as we're saying, are not always super effective. And so with that, I hope that as you're looking around, looking at what you want to change, that you're able to step up and that you're able to get involved in something that you think matters. And all of this is all well and good, but just getting people there is not what leads to long-term change. You have to keep people there. And that also brings us to our second main step, which is keeping people there. Inclusion is so important, and inclusion doesn't just happen willy-nilly. It's a concerted effort that you have to focus on and do specifically. With that, things like making your trainings more accessible, having a good snack selection, and assigning greeters are the small things that make a difference. It might seem trivial, but these small things are what make up the organizations, and they get overlooked by the larger vision all the time. And so, as we're becoming leaders in these organizations, and we're becoming leaders of these movements, it's important to think specifically about people who are just getting started. A good movement is going to have a lot of people and cover a lot of different experience levels. But when you have a movement that has a culture of inclusion, you can see that people off the street who've never done this before can actually work together. And that only happens with a culture of inclusion. And that is key because it happens from the top down. and it's a concerted effort that we can measure in different organizations. For example, that 13-year-old girl who was appalled by my age runs her own chapter of Babe Vote at her school now, because no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter your experience level, you should be able to be a part of an organization and do something that matters. There are lots of movements to get involved in that would absolutely love to have you. The feeling of belonging in these organizations is great, it's super important, but it's also not a secret. Belonging feel good is not news. So as we're seeing, especially as identity politics is kind of having a moment on both sides of the aisle, it's more important than ever to know that your time is a hot commodity with the marketplace actively trying to take it every single day. And so I'm not saying that your local grassroots organization is an evil ploy to get a bunch of political science majors rich, but I am saying that when you're picking social movements and you're loving social movements, that it's important that they love you back. Belonging is a weapon that social movements have used and will continue to use. So as you're picking what you're getting involved in, especially on the national level, do your research and be diligent, because this is continuing to happen. But ultimately, when we look at belonging and we look at who is getting involved in these, we can be real and know that volunteering your time for any organization that you care about is a privilege. Our society is not exactly set up for exemplary civic engagement, especially for marginalized communities, working class individuals, and young people. And so as we make concerted efforts to involve people, we should be involving stakeholders, involving the people who need the change the most, because as we all know, civil society is at its best when we all participate. So whether you're a slightly rude 13-year-old girl or you're pushing 87 like me, I hope that when you find an issue that you care about, that you invest in it and you build something.